Hello, everyone. Jason Hagholm here, and it's that time yet again for another edition of Jason and the Gentleman. And to do the show with me, as always, is the gentleman of mixed martial arts and the number 7 vet Bellator, the gentleman Josh Hill. Josh, how are you doing?
Pretty good, man. I'm good. Lucky number seven, I guess.
Yeah, I was just say lucky number 7. I mean, 2-0 in Bellator, and you gets you 7th, I guess.
Yeah, we were just kind of talking about briefly before this, but yeah, I don't understand it. I mean, I don't really care overall. It doesn't really matter. We always talk about rankings and how they just, they're kind of meaningless. But yeah, I don't get it. How I thought I'd definitely be in the top five. I kind of got snubbed outside of that, but whatever. It doesn't really matter.
Well, I think the thing with the Bellator rankings, it's a lot of inconsistency with where the placing is because they've been off since December. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe there'll be a little bit more consistency when they're back, which is this week, which we will get into as this show progresses. But other than being number 7, Josh, I mean, how you been, man?
Good. I'm good, man. Training camp. Just yeah, that's basically my life right now, dude. Just training like crazy and getting ready.
Yeah, and we're super excited for when that ends up going down inside the Bellator cage, where you can up your ranking with a win.
Yeah, yeah. So May 7th, I'll be scrapping. I don't know. I haven't even, I guess,
We have
officially.
not talked about this because you're trying to be politically correct with your management team.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, whatever. I'm not doing any huge public posts or anything, but we can talk about it on here. I mean, they already have it on the website anyway, so it's out there for people to see. So yeah, I'll be fighting May 7th. I'm fighting Raufeon Stouts. And yeah, man, they're saying it's most likely a number one contender fight, which is why I thought I'd be in the top five. But yeah, so it's a huge fight. I think they have him at number three. So yeah, that's the goal. Take him out, and I want to earn myself a title shot, dude.
Yeah, I mean, and also that May 7th card's the big bantamweight showcase, right? Where
Yeah, exactly.
Archuleta versus Pettis. There's James Gallagher's on that card.
Yeah,
So I mean,
exactly.
it's a big showcase for your weight division, and you're fighting the guy that you were supposed to fight before your
Yeah.
back started to tweak up on you.
Yeah, it makes sense. The fight makes sense for sure with Gallagher mixed fight and Pettis and Archuleta. I definitely, me and Stotts make sense for sure. So it's a good fight. He's a good fighter. I think he's 3-0 in Bellator. And it's 15-1, something 14-1, something like that.
15-1, yeah.
15-1. Yeah, so he's good, man. He's well rounded. Trains at Rufus Camp. He's a former wrestler. So I think we actually are very stylistically similar. So I think it's will kind of it'll make for an interesting fight, an exciting fight, I think. So yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm pumped up. And yeah, you said the card is pretty. There's Gallagher versus Mix, Archuleta versus Pettis, me and Stotts. There's also I seen Keith Lee's for fighting Henry Corrales. I seen on there.
Yep.
Corrales is dropping down a bantamweight, so that's another banger. And yeah, man, they're announcing all these bantamweight fights. It's like a tournament going on here. I seen Brett Johns is fighting that Mateus Matos or whatever, that Brazilian, and Magomedov. He was supposed to be fighting Scoggins, but Scoggins just pulled out and
Yeah.
he's fighting somebody else now. So there's tons of bantamweight fights happening. It's pretty, it's exciting.
I mean, plus you get to be in the building for Anthony Johnson versus Yoel
Yes.
Romero as the co-main. So I mean, that's kind of cool, regardless of what ends up happening on May 7th.
Yeah, man, that's pretty dope. We're talking about that. Me and Lyndon just like, oh, it's pretty sweet to see them. These monsters. Happening right then and there. But yeah, I mean, it might have bumped me off the main card, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, if they're pushing for us to be a number contender, I don't see how they would probably want us on the prelims, but we'll see what happens. Like I said, doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I mean, also with all the showcase, right? I think getting a title shot depends if you get a finish, how the fight ends, pretty much,
Yeah.
right? Obviously, Raufeon's a tough opponent as you've laid out his credentials 3-0, 15-1 overall as a mixed martial artist. But I mean, I'm happy they kept the fight with you because sometimes it tends to, you have a fight and then you end up drifting off to fight someone else. But
Yep.
I think it's the right fight for the both of you, honestly. A
Mhm.
step up in competition, and as your time now in Bellator goes, only the fights get tougher.
Yeah, exactly. We both fought some good guys in the promotion. So, but yeah, I think it makes sense. You know what I mean? I don't see, even when I lost the fight when I got injured, I thought for still down the road, I thought for sure that we would end up lining up together.
Yeah, I mean, all in all, I can't wait for May 7th for you, and just all in all, Bellator getting rolling as we'll get into with them this Friday, their first show since December, and on Showtime, right? So
Yeah.
all that's exciting for them. Still trying to figure out where in Canada we can watch them because no TV deal, no nothing right now up here north of the border.
I don't even. I have a box, so it has Showtime on it. So I'm fortunate there. I'd just be watching it there, and but yeah, I mean, as far as regular cable providers, I'm not sure what they would be playing on. I don't know.
I'm kind of shocked about that, honestly, because I saw they've announced some new TV deals in like Ireland
Yeah.
and I know the European market's big for them, especially with the amount of shows they've done in England and Ireland. But it's like you've signed a bunch of Canadians, obviously yourself. Jeremy Kennedy is now there as well. You had Rory McDonald for a long period of time. Like there's a market here in Canada that have fighters. They want to watch you guys legally. It's like you're kind of goading the Canadian audience to illegally stream your show.
Yeah, I don't. Bellator just has a weird relationship with Canada, and I think it just stems back to when they had shows in Ontario, and they just had such a nasty experience, like every other promotion. And I still think they have this unsaid grudge to them about it, coming out here because they haven't came back since. I mean, like you said, there's a bunch of Canadians in Bellator now. They could easily do a show in any of the provinces, really. Either BC or Ontario probably be their best bet. But yeah, I don't know, man. Well, I don't know what they plan on doing, but it sucks for the Canadian fans.
Well, we've heard from Scott Coker saying he's got like a deal that he's in the process of working out, but nothing's been official yet. I just don't know what it would be because it seems like TSN, that's not an option, especially with them being UFC rights providers and PFL. And I know TSN airs Showtime Championship Boxing, but I just think there's just too much clout or too much roadblocks for the MMA side. Sportsnet, I thought's a possibility, but I just feel like there isn't just a proper time to fit them in, especially if they're going to be on Sportsnet 360. But with Bellator on Friday nights, now SmackDown takes top priority of that, and WWE's invested so much with Rogers. So I just
Yeah.
don't know what it would be. So maybe Fight Network. I don't know. I mean, that's a solid option too, especially with Fight Network getting back into a lot of live events.
Yeah. I mean, Fight Network is great, but it's definitely not going to get to the whole wide stream audience like a TSN would, right? But yeah, I mean, anything I guess to give somebody an option in Canada to watch it if they don't have streaming or a box or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I just want to. Hopefully, we can find something out before the fights go down on Friday, where Bellator will be airing, and hopefully they still keep those YouTube prelims because I think that was one of the
Yeah.
best things they've done.
I think that's a great idea, man. That was great because if everybody, when I fought on them, it was just like, go. Everybody has YouTube, so just go to YouTube, watch the fights, you'll see me there. So I hope they continue to do that. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, for sure. Well, honestly, Josh, hopefully camp's going well for you, and I'm sure we'll maybe have to make some adjustments as we get closer to the fight for our recording schedule. But for now, I'm still enjoying these shows with you at this time slot. But best of luck with everything going into that. But
Thanks.
let's focus on last Saturday, UFC, where we had UFC 260. Another pay-per-view from the Ultimate Fighting Championship, the second one in March, but headlined by Francis Ngannou going up against Stipe Miocic for the heavyweight title. And, there was a lot of people that were saying that, this fight could go the same way as the first one did. But when you saw Francis on the scales, he weighed the same, but was a lot more trim and, ready to, go if they had to go a little bit longer. Stipe weighed rare. I thought he would be 234. But once that fight got going and Stipe got hit with a couple big combinations and he went for the takedown, and once Francis stuffed it, that kind of seemed like the start of the beginning of the end. As Stipe in the second round had some good shots, but Francis just countered him with a big hook as Miocic got a little overzealous, and that was it. And Francis Ngannou, now the new UFC heavyweight champion, the third champion in the UFC from Africa.
Yeah, man. I do like Francis too. So, but I'm a big Stipe fan. I love that guy. I think he's great. And I was hoping for him to win. But I said I'm like, in my heart, I'm betting on him, but with my head, I think Francis is gonna win. I just think he's gonna, and especially in a smaller cage, he's gonna be able to find that shot, and he's gonna be able to finish him. And Stipe's, man, he's been through some wars. You know what I mean? He's taken many shots from these big, massive men. So, yeah, it kind of went how I thought it would go. Especially when France was able to stuff the shot, and it looked like he improved his wrestling. Definitely, he did the right things. He didn't like panic, and yeah, man. So good on him. Yeah, the Africans are taking over. They got three champs, and he's I'm happy for him though. He's got a cool story. Very humble guy. I think he'd be a great. He is a great champion for them.
He is, and I think I mean the UFC's already starting to open up the cash cow, right, and let the cash cow go on the farm. They're kind of already talking about this stuff with a fight with John Jones, who's moved up to heavyweight, though. There's a little bit of other things. I guess Dana played this old, he doesn't want the fight card against
Oh
John
yeah.
Jones, saying that he's scared, and that's let John Jones go off in a Twitter sphere of comments. And for anyone that thinks John Jones is scared is insane. He just, rightfully so, wants to be paid the value of that fight, and hopefully he does, because that's going to be one of the biggest fights in the history of the sport.
Yeah, that's the one I want to see for sure. I think everybody wants to see that one just because you want to see John at heavyweight and then against a savage freak like that. You know what I mean? Like a genetic freak. Yeah, that would be awesome. And I think John he's skilled enough. He's athletic enough. He's going to be hopefully big enough. He looked like he's been on a lot of muscle, a lot of size. So the size wise shouldn't be that big of an issue. And John's a huge 205er anyway, right? So and he has the fight IQ, man. He's smart. He just finds ways to win. And I, everybody just right away like they see it's like John's gonna get killed, France is gonna knock him out. I'm just like, I mean, it could definitely happen, but if I had to put money down, I still think John wins.
Yeah, I think it'll be so much has to go into it, and it's a fight I want to see, just to see like John's fight IQ and tactics he can put up against a heavyweight that can turn your lights out with just one punch. And John's fought some guys with one punch power, but nothing like that with Ngannou, especially with now being a heavyweight. But I mean, there's still a long ways down the road for getting the negotiations with that right now.
Yeah, yeah. I just hope, yeah, John putting on too much size. I just hope it doesn't affect his gas tank or his speed, because those are things he's definitely going to need, especially against a guy like that, right? So that definitely plays a factor in it too. But yeah, as far as the money goes, yeah, he's not scared to fight. Like every people he's scared. It just, he sees these guys getting paid huge dollars around him like a Connor. You know what I mean? So he wants that type of money. And if that money is there, then I don't blame him. If you're asking for something astronomical that just not doesn't make sense and is not going to profit the company all, then it's not going to work. But I mean, I'm all for the fighters getting paid more, so I definitely feel for that. So I don't know what the numbers are, so I can't say if he's asking too much, he's being greedy, or if they're kind of doing him dirty and not paying him enough. So I don't know. But I'm all about the fighters getting more.
Yeah, I feel on this he's asking for an equal amount. Honestly, he just wants a little
Yeah,
bit. If you're gonna give Connor that, you've kind of set the precedent, and
yeah,
I think this fight alone sells. And John Jones has done decent enough on paper. Obviously, he's not Connor, but the more he asks for this, I think it's rightfully so. It's a fight people want to see. It's gonna break pay-per-view records and gates now that UFC seems like they're starting to travel again. So I just don't know why you wouldn't give him the money when you're a very profitable company. It's not like you don't have the money.
yeah, exactly. Like all the things you said, the fight's gonna sell. It's a banger to have this new, you know, chiseled looking, monster as your heavyweight king now, and then you have your arguably best ever, and light heavyweight king moving up, and these guys are going to collide together. That's huge money. And heavyweight was always in boxing anyway, coming up, it was always the big money one, right? It was the little guys always got the less money, unfortunately, in boxing as the years went on. It's different now. Yeah, heavyweight is like that top draw, right? Just because everybody's so big.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting to hear Dana at the post-fight after the pay-per-view ended saying that the fight to make is actually Ngannou versus Derek Lewis. I mean, we've seen it before. It was terrible. Obviously, adjustments would be made, and maybe Ngannou or Lewis would be a little less gun-shy as they were in the first fight. But I just thought it was interesting he would say that as opposed to just straight into the John Jones thing, where we heard just before Christmas that Dana and John were on the best of terms they've ever been. But now that appears not to be true. And I mean, obviously, Francis isn't going to fight like next month or anything like that, as he just fought. But I'm just shocked they haven't found a way to work this out with John Jones, considering what he can bring to the casual fan that you want to help sell tickets.
Yeah, you never know what's being said behind the scenes and actual what's real anymore. You know what I mean? So you're just going off of what we see on the news and social media. So I don't know, but yeah, the Derek Lewis fight is a good fight too. I would love to see that again. I know the first fight sucked, but I was talking actually about this today with Lyndon earlier. In the first fight, obviously they respect each other's power because they're the two top power punchers in the organization. But also, with Lewis, having a back injury,
Yes.
dealing with all those things, and then Francis also coming off his first loss in the UFC where he fought Stipe, got out wrestled, got outworked. So he's going to be a bit tentative, throwing really heavy. So maybe that is also why that there was no real action at all in the fight. So I think things will be very different. I'm not saying that there's still going to be a lot of respect between the two of them, but I think you're going to see a much better fight in the first.
Yeah, I think if that is the fight they end up doing, I mean, Dana may just be saying that right now to try to goad Jones into agreeing to his deals or whatever, but I still feel it has to be Jones versus Ngannou first of all. And, now that Stipe is no longer champion, like, what do you see next happening with Stipe? Because it seems like he lost and he kind of, like, evaporated, like in, the Marvel comics.
Yeah, it's like he's your best ever heavyweight. Now it's just he's gone. You know, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's just people. That's just how people are just so quick to write people off nowadays. You know what I mean? A lot of people are like, "Oh, I guess he's going to retire now." I guess I'm like, why was that what he talked about? I don't know, but I don't know why people aren't talking more about a trilogy. I mean, it is one apiece. Yeah, he finished him decisively in this one. The first one, Stipe just kind of beat him up, outworked him, out wrestled him the whole fight, but he still got that win. I mean, I could definitely see a trilogy fight. I know, like with the Jones, it's probably more exciting because it's something different and new. But yeah, with Stipe, I don't know. Like I said, I hope they don't just dog him and just kind of shoot him behind the barn because he lost the fight. Their best ever champ. So we'll see what they do with him.
Yeah, honestly, it's kind of weird. Like, we're not talking about Stipe. It's like he's not even in the running, and maybe he shouldn't be in the running right away for a rematch, considering how one-sided that fight was. Because Francis showed, he can wrestle now, he can stuff a takedown, and a fighter of that with that ability with the hands that can have a little bit of grappling, that's just a problem at 265 pounds. But I think to say that Stipe's done for isn't the right way to look at it, because this is a guy that beat Daniel Cormier twice clean. The only guy that did that was John Jones, but he had cocaine in his system once and steroids in his system in another one. So I think we need to put some respect on Stipe and see where he weighs. I mean, obviously, he took a vicious knockout. He probably won't be back for a long period of time. He's a big family man, probably wants to spend time with the family, and then maybe see how this plays out with, whoever Francis fights first, whether it's John Jones or Derek Lewis. But I don't think he would want his career to go out that way.
No, and I hope, I don't blame him, and I hope not. They don't think I'm doing there. You also got to remember, like, yes, Francis definitely looked much improved, much more composed, and he looked like he improved his wrestling, takedown defense, stuffed a nice shot. But that was only one shot. You know what I mean? It takes a lot of energy to stuff takedowns. And if somebody can keep that pace on you and continue to do it and fail, 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 and then they get the takedown, you've seen Cain Velasquez do that for years. You shoot, if you stuff it, great. You just keep going, keep going, keep going. And that type of pressure, same with like a Khabib, that type of pressure can eventually break guys. So yes, he did very well and he looked great. But also if Stipe was able to, not get hit by those big bombers, you never know. He might have just kept wearing him down, and maybe the fourth and fifth round got a late stoppage just from a fatigued Ngannou. But we don't know. Ngannou looked great. He looked like he improved everywhere he needed to, and he does look like a guy that's gonna be hard to deal with.
As great as Ngannou looked, were you kind of concerned he started that second round out with his, mouth open, kind of sucking some air? Because as chiseled as he looked and didn't have as much mass as the first fight from January 2018, I would be a little concerned if my guy came out to start the second round with his mouth open like that. Obviously, it worked out for him greatly, but cardio's still a thing I think we need to look at for Francis, as this fight didn't hit the deep waters, but another opponent could push him there.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. If he didn't crack Stipe with those big shots and finish him, if he could weather that storm those first two rounds, he was able to drag him into deep waters, like I think what his plan was to do, just like in the first fight. Yeah, we don't really know for sure if he was really tired or not, but also it's the style of Francis. When you're throwing big, heavy power shots and pretty much everything you throw, that's a very tiring style, no matter what weight class you're at. So. It's not just like, it's not volume shots or chipping away. It's looking to knock you out in every one. So that is a very demanding and taxing style to have, especially for a guy with that much size and that much muscle it drains you. So, I'm sure he's worked on his cardio, but it can always be improved.
Yeah, for sure. And as we're talking about Stipe and his legacy, give Stipe props. He took some bombs in that first round that would have put anyone else away, and he ate them and was able to survive the first 5 minutes and make it to a second round. So I mean, most heavyweights take those punches and they're out of there. Just look, as we talked about last week, like his longest fight for Ngannou was 1 minute and 11 seconds up until he went 5 minutes in the first round and a little bit in the second round. Like, props to Stipe for that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, Stipe is just. He's a tough, rugged, durable guy that just, good everywhere, and that's why I love him. But yeah, I mean, you get take those on the chin, especially that last clean one. I mean, it's gonna put anybody out.
Yeah, that was a devastating knockout, and I think that's why we have Dana right now being so excited, because Francis has like that Mike Tyson aura with him going right now. He's a young, well, he's like 34, but still feels a lot younger, especially for how little damage he's taken in his mixed martial arts career. And he's got that punching ability, and now you add with the wrestling, like this is a guy that could be champion for a long time and can be very marketable for the UFC. Like, yeah, they haven't had a heavyweight champion like that since Brock Lesnar. So that's a marquee division in any sport, combat sport, and the UFC may have their new golden goose right now.
Yeah, it's weird. These it kind of comes and goes in waves when you get these guys in the weight classes that are like not just your champs, but like stars, right? Like you said, Brock was different just because Brock came from the WWE and already had a huge following. Everybody knew who Brock was. But yeah, even like Stipe, the greatest heavyweight of all time, they're saying he's still like people know him and they love him, respect him, but he was never like that huge like star power like a Conor or I'm trying to think of somebody else right now that is like even Khabib. Khabib's huge draw. So or like a George St. Pierre or something like that, or Chuck Liddell at his era. But yeah, so the heavyweight division to have a guy like that, it might be a good thing.
Do you think also like just the size of him, like he's like a freak of nature too, right? And people, as Daniel Cormier was talking about with Ariel Helwani yesterday, it's like heavyweights that are that size, like people want to see heavyweights that are kind of out of the ordinary, kind of like comic book characters, and that's exactly what Francis is. Where Stipe, amazing heavyweight, greatest heavyweight right now of all time, but was your casual dude that you could meet at the bar. Like he worked at a fire department still. Like he was just a regular guy that was champion.
Yeah, no, that's why I loved him. You know, what I mean,
Yeah.
that's why I think he's great. But yes, I also see like the freak show side that people like the pride style. You know what I mean? And that's why you love the Ubereams. You know, just because they're larger than life. You know what I mean? They're like action figures or like uh, god like guys fighting because they're just so big. So yeah, that's definitely something that just I think draws to the attraction, has more appeal just because of your physical look and demeanor. He's just that big scary guy that looks, it seems very super like calm and gentle, nice guy. But yeah, as far as looks wise, you're like, oh my God, I don't want to get hit by this dude.
No, for sure. I definitely don't want to be hit by that dude. And unfortunately for Stipe Miocic, he got hit a lot by that dude and is
Yeah.
now no longer the UFC heavyweight champion. So congrats to Francis Ngannou. And then, as we move down to the co-main, Josh, Vicente Luque, Tyron Woodley. And I
Uh,
thought, and man, like what a round for that fight. Like Woodley, he went for broke early. He used the wrestling that he said you said he needed to do last week, which I thought was going to be a bit of a key to his game. And then he clipped Luque right behind the ear, like knocked off his equilibrium. But as he went into finish, like Luque countered with him, much like Ngannou would do later on. And unfortunately, that ended up like leading to the spelling of the end before he got choked out by Luque. But you know what? For Tyron Woodley to potentially wrap up his UFC career, like what a way to go! He left everything on the table, and it just couldn't come for him on Saturday night.
yeah, I was talking about this. That I feel so bad for that guy. I've never been a huge Woodley fan. I think he's good, great athlete, great fighter. But yeah, man, because he was the champ for a while, ran into Usman, kind of just got out wrestled for 5 minutes, and then I think he kind of lost that spark. I think he also had falling out with the UFC for many years, and kind of that drama. And then I feel like it just seemed like he just didn't have that desire, that passion, really. And when he fought Colby, when he fought Burns, even though those guys are like the cream of the crop in the division. So I was saying, I'm like, hopefully he comes out of this fight and just like kind of shows that, that primal, like that fighter, what I mean, he just wants to fight. And he did, man. He didn't hold anything back. He went out there and he scrapped, utilized his wrestling early, which I thought was great. And then clipped, Luque with a huge shot. And that might've been his downfall, because he kind of, smelt blood and went after him and then got clipped himself. And it was never really able to recover after that. It was a crazy round. Awesome. Like, so exciting. Both guys were wobbled and Tyron was out on his feet for a while. It looked like against the cage. It looked like he wasn't all there, but he's still fighting. And then to finish with the Darce choke on the ground like that. I mean, good for Luque. Huge win for him. It sucks for Woodley. But at least he went out there and like you said, he laid it on the line and didn't hold anything back like I think he has in his past fights.
Yeah, so this was the last fight for Tyron Woodley on his UFC contract. So he's a free agent now. I mean, UFC could re-sign him, but I just think like what going 0-4 in your last four and not really, looking up until Saturday looking the best. But I think that performance adds a lot to his value free agency. Like he may have
Yeah.
found that spark back again, and just unfortunately he got tagged and then put in a choke position, but I think if I'm Woodley, I would definitely see the feelers out there. Like he's never seen free agency, right? Like came over from Strike Force when they got bought by the UFC. Go explore some options. Try to get the best deal for you. And he also has other deals like options outside of combat sports.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, coming off 0-4, it definitely sucks. But like you said, that the last fight at least it showed like he had some grit still, and had that fighter mindset. I don't know. We'll see where he goes. I mean, if you shop around, I know with Strike Force and Coker, maybe he has a relationship there. Maybe it could lead into Bellator, maybe PFL, or go try his hand maybe out east and maybe one or something like that. I don't know. We'll see. Or they re-sign him, which I don't see them doing. But yeah, I mean, it sucks for him to kind of finish a contract off like that. It was probably a four-fight deal, and he went 0-4 on it. So that's not good for renegotiation power, but we'll see what happens.
Where do you see like what a run there for Woodley, right? From being the champion and now like how
Yeah.
he lost it. Like I think at one point people were trying to compare Woodley to like the next George St. Pierre, which upon further review was kind of astronomical for us. But I mean, when you look at his run, like I don't think it was the most impressive run as champion, and maybe his ego got the best of him, and we didn't get to see the best of him, get gun shy towards the end. But at least he has that maybe last fight to show where he can go from there. But like a title, he won the title from Robbie Lawler. A draw against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, then did just enough to beat Thompson and beat Darren Till, who he should have never been at welterweight, should have always been a middleweight, and then lost the title to Usman. But I don't know. His legacy as a welterweight, like, where do we put it now?
I don't know. He's a good fighter and was a champion for years, and did well. I wouldn't put him in a GSP category, or like a Matt Hughes category. But he's up there. I mean, he's a great fighter, and he did well for the time he had it. And then he just hit a rough patch, and now he's kind of at the tail end of that rough patch, and we'll see what happens. But you can't take away from what he's done. But comparing it to the guys that have kind of put themselves at that top of the hemisphere there against like a George or something like that, I don't think he's there.
No, he definitely isn't there, and obviously now losing 4 fights in a row or whatever it may be, I think that hurts. But hopefully, some promotion will sign him. He is a name. He will bring some eyeballs. And
what's he, like 40 now though? Too 40?
He's got to be towards the end of 38. So he actually will be 39 in a couple weeks with his birthday in April.
So I mean, he's getting to the tail end too. Like what I mean. So I don't know how much longer he's going to be wanting to go out there. I mean, it's physically, it looks like he can still do it. It looked like he was in great shape and looked great until that. But at some point you gotta, like, I hate talking about it, but you gotta like look to see what's next. And like you said, he's got a lot of things outside of fighting, so it's not like he has nothing out there. So he might be a guy that just says, I kind of move on to other endeavors and put my focus in that maybe.
I mean, it's great to have options, right? And it's always great to, he can go back to acting or continue with his music and whatnot. But I just feel like he doesn't want to end his career going 0-4. And if a promotion like Bellator is going to offer, and Bellator could because they're back on Showtime, they need some names, and especially that division at 170 pounds, I could see them throwing some money at him. But I don't know. But, for the winner of this fight, Vicente Luque, I mean, what a win to get on your belt. And then, sure, a lot of people laughed at him for calling out Nate Diaz, but why not? Take your shot while, the mic's hot and all eyes are on you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great idea. I think it's a very winnable fight for him, and Nate's a huge name, so why not? Why not do it? Try and draw the most eyeballs. I think that's why a lot of guys call Gallagher out in my division, in Bellator, just because I feel it's the same. It's it's that guys that are going to bring you notoriety, bring you that attention, and I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, for sure. So hopefully Vicente can move up the rankings there at 170, and then moving down. Your division, as you were talking about, bantamweight. We had a Sean O'Malley, Thomas Almeida, and quite an interesting bantamweight fight where O'Malley was able to connect a nasty head kick that I don't know how Almeida was able to eat that in the first round, and then he walked away, and all the commentary was like, I can't believe he walked away or whatever, but that was a clean shot that 9 out of 10 guys would be out, and for him it worked out because he was able to get a finish in the third round. But what did you make of the near walk-off that ended up not becoming a walk-off but getting a finish win?
Yeah, I mean, you try to make it look cool, and sometimes it doesn't work out for you. And imagine that Almeida somehow came back and turned it around and knocked him out or something like that. How bad that would be. But overall, it didn't really matter. O'Malley looked good, man. His striking, he's so big and long for that division. He uses it really well. Stays long, has very unorthodox things. Throws a lot of, he doesn't have a lot of rhythm. You can't really pick up on what he's going to throw, which makes it hard, especially trying to get inside his range. Almeida, I think, kind of played right into it. He did land some good shots of his own, but I think it was a very good opponent for O'Malley's style. You had a guy that's smaller than you, shorter than you, less reach, and he's going to strike with you. He didn't even shoot once the whole fight, which is mind-boggling to me. I don't know why you would not want to mix up, some wrestling and some grappling with a guy like that. That's his best things is striking, and he's so tall and long. Get underneath him, get underneath his hips, and at least make him worried about the takedown at some point. But he didn't do that once, and I think he just kind of played right into O'Malley's game, and O'Malley, made it look good and finished him off.
Yeah, and now everyone's back on the Sean O'Malley hype train. Even though people were off it because of how he lost, and I don't know if it's that he lost to Chito Vera. It's more how he handled the loss, where he was pretty much in his head like, I didn't lose that fight. I'm still undefeated. When he clearly got hit with a good shot and put away by Chito Vera. But he once again proves he's one of the most exciting guys at 135 pounds in the UFC, and his stock continues to grow. Like he's 13-1 and very young too, right? Like sky's still the limit for Sean O'Malley. As much as we may not like some of his personalities and the things he said, but he's a talented mixed martial artist.
Yeah, he's good, man. And I like to see his next fight with somebody that is a little bit more. Not to say Almeida's not good, because Almeida is, but like a little bit more well-rounded. That's gonna mix things up with him a little bit. Somebody like I'm trying to think in.
Well, a name that's been floated around is Dominic Cruz.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Dom's a taller, bantamweight himself and a longer bantamweight. He has got that awkward style, and his wrestling is good. So that would be a pretty cool one, I think. And it would be a huge test for O'Malley and definitely his biggest win of his career if he get through Dom. And Dom's coming off a nice win himself. So yeah, that would be pretty cool. I like that.
I still want to see Dom and Aldo just for WBC forever. But if they made that fight, it would be the real test up and a real litmus test for Sean O'Malley, especially with against the greatest 135 pounder of all time. But I don't know. I mean, O'Malley seems like a guy he wants to fight like 2-3 times a year, maybe 2 max, honestly. And he made the most out of his first time out in 2021. We'll see where he ends up going. And then, that was pretty much the highlights. I thought Miranda Maverick, Jillian Robertson had a real fun women's bout at 125. Jillian's so tough, but Miranda just continues to show what like growing up and developing a career in Invicta means for a female fighter, because she was just so well-rounded against a girl with some serious, jiu-jitsu skills in Jillian.
Yeah, she looked good, and just think it was just kind of one step ahead, to be honest, throughout the fight. And yeah, Jillian, tough and kind of weathered the storm and was able to stay in there the whole time. But Miranda definitely controlled the fight.
Yeah, I mean, and also a great last name, Maverick. I mean, come on, you're the Maverick. I love the gimmick of that, and a smart girl too, like training to be like a teacher, or pretty much like getting her PhD, I believe is what it is. Like, so tutoring people in a weight cut as well. I think that's also mad respect to Miranda Maverick. So
sure.
Yeah, so that was pretty much UFC 260. Oh, we should give a shout out to the lone Canadian with the dub, Marc-Andre Barrio, getting his first win on the opening bout. And a low light was the Canadian referee, Jaron Valet, I believe, who let Abu Azaitar take like 7 million punches that he didn't need to take in that third round, and then stopped it with 4 seconds left. So he really should not be wondering why Abu didn't want to talk to him after the fight.
Oh, I didn't see that fight. I didn't see, but I've had Jaron Valel as a ref before, and I always liked him, man. I always thought he did a good job, to be honest. But I mean, we all have our bad days, I'm sure. So.
Oh, it's just one of those where you could have stopped it, and then you stopping it with 4 seconds left. At least then at that point, let the fighter go out on his shield and let the horn go.
Yeah, and then you could kind of manage to be like, oh yeah, you lost a decision instead of getting finished, right? But
yeah, it was one of those weird ones. But you know what? Good for Barrio, because back was against the wall.
Was that his first win in the UFC?
So he had a win last June, but it got overturned because he popped with USADA to a no contest. So this was now his official first win in the UFC. So back up against the wall, and the power bar gets it done. The former double champ at middleweight and light heavyweight in TKO.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, good for him though, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm happy to see the power bar get it done, and it's been kind of a rough stretch for him in the UFC, but to get that win is all important. And then, it's kind of a light week coming up, Josh. I mean, obviously it's Easter this weekend, so there's no UFC on. But Bellator, as we talked about at the top, they're back. It's
Yeah,
their first show of
finally.
2021 and making their debut on Showtime. And what a card to kick things off as well, where you have Usman Nurmagomedov on the card, but more importantly, it's the main event. It's the featherweight Grand Prix semifinals. Patricio Pitbull defends his featherweight championship against Emmanuel Sanchez, and the winner will face AJ McKee at a later date for the finals of this featherweight Grand Prix. And I mean, what a fight to kick things off as well. And it's nice to see is also Showtime really, get behind Bellator. I've seen them market this show a lot on their platforms and other things like that. So they're 100% in, and it seems like a strong working agreement as things kick off on Friday.
Yeah, I'm happy to see it because that's something I always thought Bellator lacked was their marketing. They didn't really push things as much. But with Showtime now, I think that will change, and I'm for the better. I think that's awesome seeing them do that. But yeah, it's a finally, man. It's a been a long enough wait here to get them back running here. It's been 3 months they took off. But yeah, it's good. It's a stack card. Pitbull and Sanchez. It's a rematch from years ago. It's a good fight. Pitbull, probably arguably the best fighter on the roster. And Sanchez is that, he's gritty, durable, well-rounded, tough to put away guy. And I mean, it's hard to bet against Pitbull, but I definitely, could see Sanchez kind of weathering everything and, making it to a decision. So if I had to pick, I'm going to go Pitbull decision.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning Pitbull because selfishly, I just want to see the McKee fight because I think that's going to be potentially one of the best fights in the history of Bellator. Regardless of weight class, I just think so much means for that. But I just think he's got too many tools in the toolbox to be as tough as Sanchez is and as durable as he is. A guy with 24 pro fights and winning 20 of them. I just think Pitbull's a little bit too much for him. I think if anything, he could get a late finish, but Pitbull's just been on this other level as of late, right? Like he's really taken his career to the next gear, and he right now could be the best featherweight in mixed martial arts.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely arguably, he's right there for sure. He even going up to 55 and knocking out Chandler, who's now fighting for the UFC lightweight title. He's the man, dude. He's good. He's been around that promotion since the beginning, and like I said, he's probably the best fighter probably on their roster overall, pound for pound. So yeah, anytime seeing him fight, it's a big deal.
I mean, for this card, as you said earlier, it sucks we don't have Jared Scoggins on it anymore. We lost Matt Mitrione as well, as he's supposed to take on Tyrell Fortune, and Tyrell is now fighting Jack May. But as well, the one thing with Bellator is we talked about them with this promotion developing their prospects, and one of them is Jason Jackson, who's taking on Neiman Gracie in the co-main. And I think rightfully so that this is the co-main event because I'm all in on Jason Jackson. Like, this is a guy that's really taken his career to another level. Like, his last fight, a decision win over against Benson Henderson, looked really great against the always durable Jordan Meehan. Kunimoto he beat in that co-promoted show with Ryzen. Like, this is a guy that, and also, like, his split decision loss to Ed Ruth, I thought he won that fight. Yeah. So this is a guy that really in Bellator should be pretty much 5-0 or 4-0. I'm all in on Jackson right now, potentially being one of the faces of welterweight.
Yeah, he might be that dark horse, and when you fight a guy with a Gracie name, it kind of gets overshadowed a little bit. But yeah, you can definitely, Neiman Gracie, I think, we know what he's going to want to do, with him, if he can avoid that, and keep the fight on the feet, and pick him apart. That's his best route to victory. But it's a good fight, man. It's a big fight in that division.
I mean, Neiman's fought, some good names in his last two, right? He lost a decision to Rory McDonald, who was the welterweight champion at that time, and then he heel hooked John Fitch. That just obviously he's a Gracie and the BJJ levels there, but you just don't heel hook John Fitch, right? Like, John Fitch is a durable, you don't want to say legend, but he's on that cutting edge floor between, excellent fighter to legend, and you just don't heel hook those kind of guys.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many fights John Fitch has had where he's, rode out top position so many times and nobody's ever caught him in a heel hook. So it's very hard to do against a guy that has good posturing, good positioning like him. So yeah, to be able to pull that off, yeah, that's something pretty amazing.
And the other thing for me with Jason Jackson, he's training at Sanford MMA, and
Mm,
Sanford's right now quickly becoming like the front
yeah.
runner as Gym of the Year in mixed martial arts.
Yeah, man, they're doing whatever they're doing there. It seems to be working, and they're just building off their confidence because they're popping off wins and big wins too. So, yeah, they're a growing gym, and yeah, I think like you said, it's probably the gym that's had the most success in the last year. I'd say for sure.
Yeah, especially right now, right? Obviously, Chandler is going to be fighting for the UFC lightweight title, and just so much talent developing there. And I don't know. To me, right now, easily the Gym of the Year, and that Bellator working relationship with Ryzen Josh. They're back and forth. Kana Watanabe will be on the main card, who is one of the best fighters at women's 125, and
Yeah.
a girl known for her ability to crush a frying pan, roll it up, and it's good to see. It's good to see this agreement, be a thing still. But for Bellator to showcase, a top Japanese female talent like Watanabe I think is great, and hopefully once the pandemic's over, we can get like more of the crossover with
Yeah.
fighters going in. I know Ryzen just started their own bantamweight Grand Prix, but it's just Japanese only right now. And I just thought, man, what a missed opportunity that is, that for, COVID and all their restrictions and all that stuff right now, especially in Japan. But like, that would be an amazing Grand Prix to have.
Imagine if Bellator did one and Ryzen did one, and they kind of went and they, kind of ended up fighting each other at the end, or mix them both together somehow. That would be awesome, dude. I love the cross promotion stuff. I think it's so cool. I like how they do that, with North America and Japan. I think that's yeah, it's awesome. It just creates more hype, more um, that like show type, pride style. I always go back to that because it's just what it reminds me of feel, and I really do like that. So the more they do that, I'm hoping all this bullshit ends and we get back to some regularity in our lives and be able to have people on attendance and whatnot. I hope we can get back to doing that.
Well, the featherweight Grand Prix that they held in 2019 was one of the best Grand Prix Ryzen had, because they had Patricky Pitbull's brother, Patricio, in it. He went all the way to the finals, ended up losing to their now featherweight champion. But just like him alone being in that Grand Prix brought eyeballs to it. It showed the great working agreement between the two, and just everyone knows how stacked 135 pounds is as a whole in mixed martial arts. Like, as you say, if they were both doing their own, but I would love to see like Ryzen send some of their best guys for a Bellator Grand Prix, and then Bellator send some of their best over to Japan for the tournament. Like, I think that would just add an extra layer to both Grand Prix if they were able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. That would be amazing. I'm all for that, 100%.
Yeah, we'll get you on the ticket straight to Japan for that. But yeah, all in all, like, this is the start of a good set of run of shows for Bellator, as they have this one coming up on Friday, and it's just great to see that this agreement and them on Showtime, like, this just feels right for them.
Yeah.
Because like, as great as that they were hyped about the CBS Sports Network deal, but that was really a bit of a step down from Paramount Network, and now they're on, like, I think the perfect platform for them.
Yeah, I think so too. I agree. I think it's just, yeah, it's a perfect platform. It's a good mix between what they do and what Bellator is and where they want to head. Yeah, I love it. They got a whole string of shows now. They're back in action. I think they've announced their next 4 or 5, I think. So yeah, it's not, they keep pumping them out now and rolling them out. And as Coker said, he wants to still have this year 20 to 25 shows in that range. So that's awesome. I like hearing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and then like the following week we have the start of their light heavyweight Grand Prix with Bader Machida, the rematch this time in Bellator. Liz Carmouche returns to the Bellator cage. Jeremy Kennedy, Adam Borix at 145 pounds. What an underrated fight that is.
Yeah, that's a big fight for Jeremy for sure. If he can get a win over Borix, that's a big win in his cap for sure. So that's a good one, man.
Yeah, man, we'll definitely get into more of that as
Another
next.
one for this upcoming week, I forgot it was as my buddy Chris Gonzalez is fighting from Alpha Male. He's fighting Roger Huerta. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, it's a big fight for him. Roger's been around forever and a huge name. Definitely at the tail end of his career. But yeah, Chris is a up and coming guy. I think he's 5-0. I think 4-0,
yeah,
something
5-0.
like
Yeah.
5-0. So yeah, I think it'll be big things for him. I think it's a good fight for him.
Yeah, of course, as you said, getting a victory if he ends up doing so against a name like Roger Huerta. Like Roger Huerta, the only mixed martial artist on the cover of Sports Illustrated. So back in 2007. And like Roger Huerta was at one point one of the hot lightweight guys in the world. It was also one of like the first big acquisitions Bellator got from the UFC
Yeah.
when Huerta became a free agent. So he may be coming his career down to an end, but like Chris Gonzalez is in for a tough fight against a guy that's seen everything someone can handle.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's that wily vet, right? And he's been in there with everybody and done it. So he's definitely not out of the fight. Chris is definitely going to come and have his A game. But yeah, that's an exciting match for sure.
And then Magomedov,
Yeah.
at 135 for Bellator, like obviously one of the top guys out there in Russia. Like he looked fantastic in his debut with Bellator back in December, and this wasn't supposed to be the opponent as we talked about earlier. Supposed to be Jared Scoggins, but I mean, what's his name? CJ Hamilton comes in now last minute, but tough opponent, a durable guy, but like Magomedov is always those Russians, and they're so tough and durable.
Yeah, he's looked good, man. His wrestling looked on point. Even his striking looked good, but his pressure that he puts on people, very much that style, that Russian style. Yeah, he's definitely an eye to keep out for.
Yeah, well, I'm just excited to see Bellator back as April begins, and April's just going to be a crazy month of MMA with not only Bellator and UFC, but PFL starts
Yeah.
towards the end of April, and then One Championship has a show every Wednesday in April on TNT. So mainstream cable for mainstream coverage for One Championship. So MMA is really just exploding in April.
Yeah, man. We talked about that before. It's going to be a good month. Lots of fights to watch.
Lots of fights, and of course, as still the 2 night spectacle that is WrestleMania.
Yeah, of course. There we go, WrestleMania, and it with attendance. That's good because you can't. I just can't be the same without, man. You know what I mean? They try to do it and they did their best job, but it's just not the same.
It's gonna be interesting to see how they pull it off, and it will be nice to see actually real fans there, as much as the video screens have been
Uh,
in place for a year. But an event with live fans will be interesting as much as the protocols are in place still. Even if it's like whatever the capacity will be, it will be nice. And those that are willing to go to the show, God bless them.
yeah, I mean, hey, if I was in Florida, I'd be going. I'd be one of those guys, 100%. So I just there's things you can. I don't know. Everything is better in person, right? Everything is better in person. You don't care what anybody says. You watch it on a screen, it's not as good. But yeah, I'm happy to see some of that coming back. You know what I mean? I think the world really needs that.
Yeah, it's starting to the wheels are in motion for the normalcy that we once had that was taken away from us last year is slowly getting there with UFC planning events and fans now out at WrestleMania, and other sports leagues are letting fans in. I know the NHL is letting certain markets have limited capacity, but it's a thing that we're starting to see again. But
Yeah.
all in all, Josh, once again, a solid show. Always fun chatting with you. And before I let you go, plug yourself out there on Instagram, and best of luck with training camp.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's going good. Just, in the tired days every day. Gentleman J Hill, as always, Instagram, and I don't have Twitter yet. I'm not back on there yet. We'll see if that ever happens. But yeah, you can find me there.
It's got to make it happen. We got to make it happen somehow, Josh. That's how you campaign your ranking right there.
Oh, is that it? Yeah. Just complain on Twitter like everybody else.
Sure, why not? You can do the John Jones classic, tweet and delete.
Just tweet and delete. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though they get saved there in somebody's picture and then they're always there.
Always, always. Nothing's ever deleted on the internet anymore.
Never.
But before I guess I let you go, Josh, as it is Easter weekend, have a very safe, happy, healthy Easter weekend with your family, and we'll be back to break down Bellator and preview now a hurt UFC on ABC2 with the loss of Darren Till.
Yeah, that sucks for sure. But yeah, you too, man. Have a good Easter, and I look forward to talking about the first Bellator show back and everything else.
All right, Josh. Well, you have yourself a great Easter. Obviously, not a lot of chocolate for you as you're in training camp, but I'll try to carry the load in that part. But yeah. All right, Josh. Well, have yourself a good week, and we'll talk to you next week.
See you, buddy.